Welcome to the Witchy Work Wishes podcast, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. Welcome to Witchy Work Wishes. Guess what? It's almost summertime. And here in mid-June, it is time to check in with the goals that we made back in January. And if you just cringed, I gotcha. I get it. I am here to help. So today's episode, which is number 87, is in fact a mid-year check-in on our goals with some good inspiration and motivation to complete them in the second half that is left of 2024. And guess what? As this airs, we are in the early stages of a waxing moon, which could not be more perfect in creating the energy we want to do our mid-year goal check-in. So stay tuned all the way to the end when I review the moon phase just to see how you can harness this week's energy to help with your own goal review. But first, I do have some really big, huge good news. Yay! After back and forth negotiations, quick turnaround on all this stuff. Oh my goodness, my offer was accepted. And I am the new owner of a mixed-use building about 30 minutes away from my main office. This, of course, is all connected to my bread and butter of income, a business that I started from the ground up back in July of 2008, which is Blackbird Bookkeeping. Now, I am celebrating my sweet 16 with Blackbird this July, and I can't think of a better way to do it by opening and launching a second location. And again, if you guys remember some notes from a previous episode that I actually did try this about 6 years ago, but the location was too far away, and you know what, life threw me too many obstacles for that second location launch to succeed. So here I am again, now doing the expansion on a much more scalable size. I am so excited. So I just found out on Friday the 7th, which was right after our 6/6 portal, of course, which was also on a new moon. I don't know. It's all just right. It's just right to start a new chapter with my corporation. It is just right to expand and get involved with new businesses in a new city. It's just right, the whole thing. It was a really short escrow, which thankfully, with the help of my amazing realtors and amazing loan officer, I was actually able to do. So I actually will be closing this month in June, which opens the door for a perfect July Sweet 16 celebration and announcement of the second office. Again, the residential part of the mixed-use building is a 1930s farmhouse, which needs lots and lots of love, lots and lots of attention, and lots of repairs. But you know what? I am so happy that I am the one that gets to be doing them with her. Some will be immediate, like the electrical and plumbing, and some will be in a couple months, like a new roof. But I want to get to know her. I want to really understand this home's needs and feel the lives that she has shared with those that lived there over the past 100 years. And, tend to her needs one room at a time until she and I have formed our new relationship. I am more than excited to begin the new journey, though. And I just, yay! So happy this all played out the way it did. So with all of that energy, I actually wanted to pull a new card for direction on the move and the second business edition. So I went back to both decks. Now last time with the Crow Tarot deck, I ended up pulling the Hanged Man, which said that, that I would experience a delay, that I needed to let go and surrender to the process, and that I needed to hang, be still to help find the answers that I needed. You know what? I listened and I did just that. I stopped packing. I stopped planning. I put everything on hold while the negotiations continued. So over this past weekend, I did do a general card pull with my Animal Oracle deck, and then I also did a specific card pull with the Crow Tarot deck. So general guidance with the Animal Oracle deck brought me the Dog Spirit. And this card came to me a little different than how I normally choose a card. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but I shuffle my deck 3 times before pulling a card. And each time I pretty much split the deck in half, before I shuffle again. With the Animal Oracle deck, I honestly did just that. And you know how when you're splitting it to shuffle again, you can see the bottom cards, right? Well, each time on my left was the dog spirit. Each time on my left. So after the third and final shuffle, when it was there again, I honestly just stopped and I let it be. So I would love to know if you guys ever do this too, or if you just move on and say, "Oh, no, it's not a coincidence." But for me, clearly, this was the message that I think I was supposed to listen to. So the dog spirit says, I'm going to read this right out of the book. Let's see. Dog spirit appears to remind you that although change is a part of life and all of us are meant to evolve, our love and commitments remain strong. You are loved now and can trust that this higher love is true. Spirit loves you, and love has arrived in many forms now, manifesting in the people you surround yourself with, expressed uniquely through them. Dog spirit also says, be true to that which you love, for now is a good time of good fortune. Be steady as you recognize that people and things are always transforming. Your heart is loving and true, and dog spirit wants you to know that your steadfast commitment to experiencing and expressing love will attract and manifest more love. You deserve it all. Have faith in Spirit's plan for you. So I listened. I saw that card 3 times on each shuffle, and I just said, you know what, instead of going through the deck, finding one that I was drawn to, that was the message that somebody wanted me to have. All right, so the specific guidance with the Crow Tarot deck brought me the 4 of Wands. And I am definitely in the early stages of learning how to read my decks, even though I've had them for a while. But I did watch a video recently that really, really helped me at least break tarot down into more manageable steps. And you know what? I'll look up the creator of the video so that I can give credit to her in the show notes. But basically, she said we need to know our 4 elements as each of the suits represents them, right? Pentacles is with the earth element. Cups is with the water element. Swords are going to be with the air element. And then wands are a part of the fire element. And then you need to know your numerology. So for the card I pulled, which was the 4 of Wands, without reading the amazing description in the book, which I will do next, I know instantly that I'm working with the fire element, which represents my goals, my passions, and my creativity. And then the number 4, as far as numerology, is going to talk about structure, stability, and then stagnation maybe in my life. So right away, I have a base level of what this card is telling me. Now, the book that accompanies my beautiful Crow Tarot deck, it specifically reads, it reads, 2 crows harmoniously chatter as they celebrate the end of another beautiful day. The 4 of Wands denotes a time of peace and harmony, especially regarding home and family. The 4 of Wands also predicts that a joyous occasion, such as a birth or a wedding, could be on the horizon. You may also see the 4 of Wands as a reminder to connect with those who bring joy and happiness into your life. Throw a dinner party, arrange for a backyard barbecue, or have friends over. It may not feel like it at the moment, but you will soon have a reason to celebrate. Interesting, right? I think that really actually ties in with the dog spirit and the message I was getting there too. So, for me right now, I have so many irons in the fire that I personally need today's episode more than ever. So I think it's just amazing that things lined up yet again for me. This is the perfect time for me to work with each of you in reviewing how the rest of, our 6 months in 2024 will go. And of course, what specifically needs to be worked on to complete our goals, for this year. So let's go ahead and jump into today's episode as we do our 6-month goal check-in. Okay, my friends, where are we with our goals? How much have we gotten done, and what is still left on the big list that we created back in December and January? I don't want to do a complete rinse and repeat from last year's episode. However, there really is no need to reinvent the wheel when everything still applies. So I did pull my notes from the episode that I did this time last year, talking about the same topic. So I can review them one by one and maybe add a little where I think we need more and fluff where we need a little extra motivation. So I do understand that list making in general is not for everyone. I personally love the process of it and the satisfaction of checking the items off as I complete them. Making lists and creating goals for the upcoming year and years, honestly, still is just as important to me now as they were when I was younger. I have found, though, over the years, some great steps that make my goal list making even easier, which definitely includes this mid-year check-in with both myself and my list. Now, if you happen to have your goals handy, grab them for this podcast and we can walk through them together. Now, we started off our brainstorming, goal-making list thing back in December. I believe we started with the benefits and the why portion of our goals and list making. Let's review those first as we get back into that kind of goal mindset and that zone that's going to help us with the check-in later. So the why is pretty simple, right? Goals give you a direction and a clear reminder on what you want completed by a certain time. And we all know there can be a gap between making goals and actually achieving goals. But you would be surprised at how much energy and success you honestly already create just by making them. You are one step ahead with focusing on defining your purpose and, of course, what it's going to take to achieve your goals. Now, I am very visual. Most people are. And, seeing your goals written down really can, or for me, really does put action into motivation that I might not have started out without them. So new habits and routines are created, all which give us energy towards that end result and purpose. When we created our goals, we were thinking about what we were willing to do, right? Sometimes goals sound good, but honestly, we're not really willing to work or sacrifice to have them. And maybe they sound good because you think other people value them, but you, honestly, yourself don't. These goals, they definitely end up collecting dust because they do not align with our vision nor our greatest good. So we want to be realistic in making our goals. That just doesn't mean they can't be huge, right? We want those big ones to motivate us and excite us. But goals should be ones that give us direction and create manageable to-do actions so that we can achieve them. So we created a time frame and a timetable for our 2024 goals. Our goals are going to help us prioritize our actions. Again, they create those little to-do items that need to be checked off so that we can continue moving forward and complete the ultimate big picture goal. And a stumbling block, not only with goals, but with projects or anything that can seem overwhelming, is going to be the lack of ability to break it down. Break it down into those smaller, manageable steps. It is honestly this very thing that keeps people stuck in situations. They focus on the big picture and it overpowers them and freezes them into place because they're just unable to compartmentalize and take one baby step at a time. I honestly refer back to the saying often. I know you guys have heard me say it before, but just as a reminder to break the big picture down, whatever that big picture is for you, to break it down into manageable steps, I always say this: a dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and then a plan backed by action becomes reality. This is how I approach my own goal making. I always have, and I always will. So baby steps written into our timelines when working on our goals, these are super important. They will give you a sense of completion, right? Which is a huge motivator, right? If we're talking about it, like we've got to have something that continues us and that we can recognize so that we keep going forward and continuing on with our path. Do what you need to do to remove those stumbling blocks of being overwhelmed by, that big end result. Well, I say we create little baby steps so that when completed, it helps propel us forward with a sense of accomplishment. Now, goals will separate out our wishful thinking, that, oh gosh, wouldn't it be nice if, or that flighty dream-like state of, oh, someday I might. And it's really going to help us focus on what we really do actually want, and then turn that something of what we really want and make it into a reality of something we are now in real time working for. That level of responsibility gives us power. This is your goal, your action to work on, your choice to do something that brings you closer to completion. Now, of course, that power and choice can turn into actions that delay your achievements, right? Goals are something so personal for you, and really, you are the only one with the ultimate control over them. But when you get the momentum going and feel like those little rewards are pushing you forward to the next task, some of the behaviors that, might have been holding you down before, they're not going to seem so attractive anymore, and they're not going to give you the same satisfaction that they used to. I really do think you're going to find that when you are in alignment with your greatest good and your greatest goals, some of that noise and chatter that has distracted you in the past is just going to melt away. Now, I have previously talked about how I personally structure my goals when writing them out, and I'm just going to do a fast reminder on those. Again, do you, but these have really, really worked for me. First, I create a space that is just for me. This is my reflective time and brainstorming time. So, carving out plenty of space for me to play around with my thoughts and ideas really is important. I know I am better at this in the morning, so that is usually when I reserve time that is just for me. And, I'll create the physical space around me that encourages my creativity and makes me feel cozy. I grab my papers, my pens, usually a fuzzy blanket. I've got candles going. I'll have a fire in the fireplace. I'll put some classical music on, or, something like a Viking or Celtic music, which I really like. And then I curl up and I let my thoughts flow. This is my free-for-all time, and I write down everything. Honestly, no matter how silly it sounds or they may be, I write it all down. And it's almost like a random vision board, but with words and phrases on a piece of paper. So next, I give myself a timeline to complete making my goals. Right? This can't go on for 3 months. However, for me, they don't have to be all done in one day. Sometimes an outline is drafted, and I'll go back and look at it each day for a couple days, and then make little tweaks and changes as needed until I know I have my finished results. But for me, I can usually get this done within a 2-week period, sometimes shorter. A third, after I have all my thoughts written down, random as they are, I'll come up with a theme, and then it's this actual theme that defines my word for the year. And then it's this specific word that will start the actual goals being written out. Now, when I was younger, I just started by writing the actual numerical year on a piece of paper, kind of like in the center of the paper. But honestly, over time, changing that number to be a word defining my theme that ties everything together really has been one of the best changes I have made. It really is my why. And defining my goals from it have been super helpful. So this step of finding and defining your why is so very important to the success of your goals. It's what is motivating you to have this goal, and what will inspire you to keep taking the action steps needed to obtain it. Without getting these defined, you're going to end up with that list, that list of wishful thinking. So when drafting out your goals, you want to pull from what motivates you and what inspires you. And those are two pretty important words that really do mean very different things. You're going to want to create goals that are in alignment with the greatest version of you that you can think of. Now, this foundation will give you power and fuel to keep moving forward, since it won't be in conflict with the core you. Now, what motivates you? This is going to be your reason for doing it. What inspires you? Well, this is going to be what creates your action, your desire to act on the motivation. So when you're brainstorming, you are going to want to have a good idea of both of these, and then turn that information into your theme or word or phrase for the year, and then organize your goals into sections. So this next step, number 4, is where I take my ideas and I organize them into categories. And I often use the Wheel of Life for this, which has 6 basic sections. It's got spiritual, physical, intellectual and personal development, family and relationships, social interest and fun, and then career and finances. Now, once I have my word or phrase, I write it in the center of the paper, and then I draw a bubble around it. From that bubble, I draw 6 lines randomly out from it, and then kind of evenly space the lines, around the bubble. And I organize my goals into one of those 6 areas or buckets. And you don't have to have this many categories. You can certainly combine some of them or remove some of them altogether. Maybe there's one single goal. Maybe there are 2. When you just kind of let your thoughts flow, you don't want to judge or critique, just write them all down and then find if they can fit into one of those buckets. You might find that you have a bucket that's completely empty. This next year, there was nothing that you needed to truly focus on. But this is all about you, right? This is your goal worksheet, so make it work for you. So for me, I get my word or phrase, I draw my 6 lines out evenly around the bubble, and then I list the 6 categories. I go back and I look over all of my random thoughts, and I organize them into one of those 6 buckets. This compartmentalizing stage really, really helps me break things down. And then I look at everything. I start playing around with what is really important to me and what contributes to the word and theme that I'm going for. I kind of weed out that silly stuff, maybe some of the fluff, certainly weed out any duplicates. And I get the categories tightened up into what motivates me and what inspires me. What is going to bring me to my greatest and highest level. From there, I actually do a couple revisions. I rewrite the draft so it looks a bit more tidy. I start with my word or phrase again for the year inside the bubble, do the 6 lines again, and then just keep tightening it up. So my approach then shifts, and I actually look towards the end of the year. Now that is going to sound a little silly for some people, but honestly, this works for me. So if I know what the end date is, I can start working backwards from it and then create those little baby steps that need to get me there on time. This honestly is my final tweak of the goals, and it is when I get that big picture broken down into action steps for me. So my end result is that I have my bubble, I have my word or phrase, I have my buckets and the little like items grouped underneath them. And within those buckets are specific goals written down. Each goal has a completion date. And then below each goal are the things, the little baby steps written out of what exactly I need to do and by when I need to have them done to reach my goal. All right, so if you still have them, grab that piece of paper again that has your goals on it for 2024, and let's do our mid-year check-in. If you can, try to recreate that space you had back in December or January when you were writing these out. That personal time can be duplicated once more that you carved out back then. What you need to do so that you feel creative and cozy. Grab your papers, your pens, your fuzzy blankets, your candles, whatever you need to let your thoughts flow. So recreating a similar space is going to trigger us back to that moment when we created our goals in the first place. All right, we are 6 months into our calendar year. And if you are big into the moon cycles, this is going to translate much to the full moon phase that we are coming into. At this point, we need to look back at our goals and reflect. So the dark moon is all about, contemplation. This is kind of like the end of December, first week of January. New moon is usually when we're writing our goals out. This is the first couple months into the calendar year. Waxing moon is all about taking action. This gets us through kind of mid-June-ish. Full moon is about reflecting. What have you accomplished so far and celebrate it, right? This is basically what I would consider June, July, and maybe a little bit of August time. Waning moon, it's all about releasing what has been holding you back from reaching your goals. I think this translates into our fall and early winter time. And then our dark moon phase is really about rest and, decide what your next step is. Look at the goals during the new moon and what you celebrated, the completion during the full moon. And this really is the last couple weeks in December, or that's what I translate or correlate the dark moon time with. Okay, let's check in. Unfortunately, I do have some bad news because the statistics for people completing their New Year's goals is not very high. Under 20% of people actually finish them out. That means the majority of us, 80% of us, don't. We end up dropping our entire list, most of us, by February. That's a tough one, right? Why? Why do we do this to ourselves? More than likely, that is because one of three things I think ended up happening. One, we didn't believe in the goal in the first place. It was something that we thought we should be doing, not something we actually wanted to do. Second could be that we did not map out the path to achieve it. Did we break it down into baby steps that are doable? Maybe we didn't. The goal was too big and we just got overwhelmed. Or third, our faithful self-sabotage kicked in. We did not believe we could actually do it, and old habits took over that reinforced why we don't deserve it. Okay, but not us. That's why we are doing this mid-year check-in, right? Our full moon stage of the goals we made back in December or January, we are going to celebrate what we have completed so far, and then we are going to reflect on what remains. What still needs to be done to complete the rest of our list? We can do it, guys. All right, when we made the original list, we hopefully were able to use the acronym SMART. This stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time sensitive. If you did that with your goals, you are probably going to be in the 20% who are on track with achieving them. This does not mean they don't need some tweaking, maybe a little bit of adjusting. We all know life happens. It honestly does. And unplanned things, either big or small, can sidetrack us or honestly completely even knock us off course. But this halfway point is powerful. It is a time of fulfillment. It is a great time to connect with our intuitive side and our psychic abilities. So we just came off our new moon this past weekend. So this is a great time as the moon is waxing, gaining strength, gaining energy for us to kick our goals back into gear. We are perfectly halfway through our year. And that personal space we just talked about, that personal time that you need to carve out to look at your goals and reflect, plan for it. Do it. Do it now. It is the time. So there are 5 main steps that we are going to do when looking at our goals again. First one is let's be nice to ourselves. Let's celebrate our wins. Let's reflect and honestly celebrate what we have accomplished so far. Cross off the goals that you've already completed and give yourself great comfort for doing so. Second, take your remaining goals, whether you have 1 goal or, maybe you have 10 goals left that have not yet been completed. Write something down for each one. Start out by saying, I want it so I can, blank. Have a why for each one, why you want it. 3, write down what has stopped you from getting this goal completed. What are the roadblocks that you have encountered? What are the habits holding you back from having it done? Or what are the repetitive words, right? That self-sabotage. Oh, I hate it. But what are those repetitive words that you keep telling yourself that is keeping you from the success of having it? Write it down. Write it down. I promise the more we can understand it, the less power it has over us. 4, take the remaining goals and write another list. This time, go back to the step when you originally made it and redo the timeline. We only have 6 months left with our annual goals. So we've got to break it down and work backwards, just like I do if you can, so that we know by, December 15th, mid-December, these are going to be done. So in order to have these goals completed by December 15th, I need to have XYZ done by November 1st. And I need to have, ABC done by October 1st. And whatever else needs to be done by August 15th. Measure it out. Have the why right under each goal, and then the actual timeline, these specific dates of the goal broken down into steps that you are going to take and when. Go back to the SMART acronym. This is the time-sensitive and measurable part of it. Now, 5, after you're done with your new list, post it. Put it somewhere that visually will continually remind you what you're doing all of this for and where you are in your timeline to complete it. Now, what about our goals for career and job? Our corporate witchy work wishes. I think last year, maybe the beginning of the year, I went over a short list of ideas that we could pull from in making our business and work goals. Certainly, they can be and should be part or one of your buckets to think about and hopefully have a goal or two in. So I gave some examples of, like improve your time management skills, get organized, maybe get certified in your field or get a college degree, create a new work habit, start a business, it's a biggie, maybe work on corporate mentors and networking, create good work morning routines. I have a whole separate podcast on that one that it really blends into what we're talking about. I think I also mentioned, balance with work and home, which is always a goal for me. So there is no difference between our personal goals and our professional goals when it comes to assessing them and reflecting on them. A goal is a goal. When it's time to look at our progress and what still needs to be done, I would honestly tackle it in the same way. Remember how valuable goals are to our growth. Goals give us direction, a roadmap, and a clear list of what we want, what we are going to do, and then what we have to do to complete them by a certain time. And again, if we filled out that list full of things that quote unquote sound good, but we are not really willing to work or sacrifice to have them, then we're going to probably be sitting on a list with 80% of the other people who did the same thing and have not made any progress on them. Hollow goals will end up collecting dust because they do not align with our vision. They do not support our greatest good. And halfway through the year, like we are right now, if you made some like that, they're probably glaring at you right now. And you know what needs to be done. Either this was a goal, that is not supporting the greater good in you, or it is a goal that you are blocking from having. So what needs to be done? Reflect. Take personal time and go through your 2024 goals. What are you going to do with the remaining 6 months of this year to finish them? I know that's a lot, but this is exactly what I'm going through right now. Again, I've got so many irons in the fire that I am revisiting my list, tweaking it, and seeing what I need to do with the next 6 months of our year just to make sure that come December, I'm going to be proud of myself. Come December, I'm going to have these things checked off. And come December, I'm going to feel complete and ready to make a new list for 2025. All right, I have my goal poem pulled for today, and I do have some moon stuff that really does tie into this specific type of energy. So if you would like to stay with me for both of those, I'll go grab them, and I'll be right back. A little motivation for our mid-year goal check-in. Here's a poem all about our goals. It's time for goals. It's time to plan. Think ahead and dream all that you can. What are your wishes? What do you want? All those desires known by your confidant. Write them down and think them through. What are the goals that mean something to you? Think of what motivates you to do more. Don't second guess. Just let your heart pour. Let your inspirations come to the page. Free them from doubt. Let them out of the cage. This is all about you and the person you'll be. These goals are your wishes. Now let them free. As you write them down, think them through. Get them organized in sections too. Compartmentalizing helps. I promise it will. I know it's a lot to get over this hill. You've made your plan and you have your goal. This passionate list speaks right to your soul. All of your wishes and all you desire are written out now so you can soar higher. And once you're flying, continue on. Make baby steps to act upon. Those little steps will get you going and put into motion all that is growing. And higher you'll soar with your goals in mind, for goals written down have a date assigned, and baby step goals broken out into actions become your reality with true satisfaction. It's time for goals, it's time to plan. Think ahead and dream all that you can. This is all about you and the person you'll be. These goals are your wishes. Now let them free. Our beautiful moon this week, which this episode is airing on Wednesday, June 12th, well, she is a waxing moon. And it is the early phase of the waxing stage, which means it's a waxing crescent moon. Now, harnessing the energy of a waxing crescent moon has always felt like a special time of transformation and intention setting for me. As the moon transitions from, this new moon phase that we just had, and it starts to reveal a sliver of light symbolizing new beginnings and the growth of ideas. I often begin this period by reflecting on my own goals and aspirations and visualize them with clarity. Perfect for this topic that we talked about for today's episode. During the nights, I feel a surge of creativity, kind of like the moon's gradual increase in light is illuminating new paths and possibilities. This is the perfect time to plant the seeds of my intentions, nurturing them with positivity and determination. When the waxing crescent moon graces the night sky, my individual routine becomes more introspective and deliberate. I find myself drawn to practices that align with setting intentions, like journaling, meditating, and, creating vision boards. Certainly touching up my to-do list with my goals. I might light a candle and sit quietly, allowing the soft glow to kind of mirror the moon's gentle increase in brightness that she is actually going through right now. This ritual helps me focus on what I want to attract into my life, be it personal growth, career advancements, deeper connection with my loved ones, all of it. It's a good time of hope and potential. And I feel a profound connection to these rhythms, trusting that my intentions are taking root. The energy of the waxing crescent moon also encourages me to take practical steps towards my goals. Inspired, by the moon's steady progression, I break down my larger aspirations, those big, huge goals, into manageable tasks, creating that clear roadmap for achievement. And if that does not perfectly align with today's episode, gosh, I just don't know what else will. This is a great time to look at our goals again and figure out what needs to be done to finish them with success. This moon phase teaches me patience and the importance of gradual progress. I find that as the moon grows, so does my own confidence and motivation. So embracing this lunar energy, I move forward with a sense of purpose, with a sense of optimism, knowing that each step that I take is going to bring me closer to the fruition of my dreams. And we all know, in order to get results, action is required. We can manifest all we want, but the truth is that is a portion of our magic. It's one component of many. If you want your dreams to come true, go back to the basics. A dream written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. And a plan backed by action becomes reality. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know this follow-up episode or our goal-making episode is a big one that many of you like. And honestly, if we pair it with the first episodes I did called Good Work Mornings Start the Night Before, and also the time tracking episode that I did, we are going to have some powerful motivation and tools right at our fingertips. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I hope you have a great and amazing weekend, and I will talk with you next week. Thank you for joining me today at Witchy Work Wishes, a place to find your weekly inspiration for bringing your personal witchcraft practice into your business, work, and office. For more information and additional content, please visit me online at witchyworkwishes.com. If you want to send me a personal note, please email me at info@witchyworkwishes.com. And of course, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Witchy Work Wishes.